Hello everybody, weebrabbit here, and welcome back to the Otaku Overload episode 39. And yeah, before we start, just want to say that I forgot to actually put a message out on YouTube. Usually I try to put, use the communities tab and put, hey, things are going to be like delayed, or this thing is canceled, or whatever. And I actually forgot to put out a post about how we weren't going to do the podcast last week, which I did mention at the end of the last episode, in episode 38, but I just realized I forgot to put out a post, which is kind of, but that aside, we are back now. I was out of town last week when we usually record, and so that's what kind of, ended up leading to the, last week's episode getting canceled. But we are back now. And yeah, before I pass it off to my co-host, I just want to say that it just feels really weird though, because you get so used to like just doing something every week. And so now that we're back, it feels like it's been forever since we did the last one, even though it's only been like 2 weeks. So it's just super awkward. And as I pass off to Legend Jonathan, I was going to say, how does it feel for you? Does it feel like it was like a long time ago since we did the last one? Or like, I don't know. What do you think?
Kind of. It kind of feels like it's been like months.
Yeah,
podcast.
right. That's what I'm saying. So as we're like sitting down, I was getting stuff ready. I'm like, it feels like it's been like ages since we did the last one, and like, no, we only missed like 1 week, and then we're back again. And this isn't the first time that happens to us either. Like, we've missed a few here and there because like sickness or other stuff. But it just feels so weird that like this time it feels like really weird. Like
This
we had
time
missed
around,
like
it does feel like that. Yeah.
yeah, it feels like we missed like a month or something. It's just like super awkward.
Yeah.
But like I said, we're back now. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I am doing pretty good, Like I said, happy to be back, all that good stuff. Definitely have things to talk about.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
same.
yeah. So if you are ready, why don't you take it away? Start with your week. Tell us what you have been up to since the last episode.
Um, I don't know if
It'd be
y'all
fun
knew.
if you literally went nothing.
Nothing, guys. I haven't done anything. I've just been, I just been here doing nothing.
Sitting, waiting for the next episode to time to record again. I'm just
Just to
kidding.
say I didn't do anything.
Oh
Okay.
my god.
So I beat Pikmin 4's main story because I don't think I mentioned that last time actually. I beat Pikmin 4's main story.
I
Oh wait, no, I
actually
did.
I actually think you did mention it. I think you did
Okay,
mention you
okay,
had beat it. Like the story
okay.
stuff, but you said that was post
hmm
game stuff, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm in post game now, and I'm almost done with post game actually. I'm almost done with that. Um, it's been pretty cool, but also pretty tough, I'll admit that. And what's cool is that after you beat the main story, you unlock 2 levels. One is called Giant's Hearth, like heart with an H at the end, like hearth, and the other one's called like primal, like something. Like it's like more like you could tell it's like more dangerous and it's like more like there's more animal stuff involved.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the point is that yeah, it's been pretty cool. Um, what I oh, it's primordial thicket. Um, but the point is that yeah, and then like what's cool is that this time around we mentioned how the end of like the story mode, it's that basically you do save Olimar and all that good stuff. This time around in post game, on the other hand, you run into Louis, and
He's
as
just he's
always,
just
Louis,
in every game, huh? I mean from
yeah,
like two
literally every
forward.
single game. Yeah.
Oh my god, that's
As
funny.
always, Louis, he's causing bullshit. Except in the third game. In third game, well, actually, no, yeah, he did stuff in third game.
It's always him.
Yeah.
Why? That's so funny. Is he like the main
Uh,
like human antagonist, like quote unquote?
yeah, he actually is here. You can tell he actually is the antagonist.
Why? Why do they create this like asshole character to just always be
Because I
screwing
guess
things
because
up?
him Mario, he's the him and Olimar are supposed to be like the contrast to Mario and Luigi. That's because
But
you know how
Luigi
Luigi's
isn't an asshole. He's your co-op partner.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. I said he's the contrast between Mario and Luigi.
Well, I feel like he would be.
Olimar,
I feel like he would be more of your Wario then.
um, but Louis the opposite of Luigi. That's what I'm getting at. Because Louis is supposed to be the second character, and Luigi's more nice. He's always like on your side and stuff, and Louis isn't. Louis is like this dude that's never paying attention. This dude that he's always selfish.
Hmm.
Like, and then Olimar on the other hand, he is nice, but Olimar's very short tempered.
That's
Olimar's
true. And
very
yeah, I guess I know what you mean because he's not like a rival character either. So I guess I know what you
yeah.
mean. So he's supposed to be like your yeah. I guess I can see what you mean by the Luigi.
He's your partner, but he sucks. That's the point. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I can see what you mean. Yeah, 'cause he's not a rival either. Because then he would be like a Wario or like evil version of you. But that
Hmm.
makes sense. He's not your rival either. He's just this screw up that
Yeah.
happens to be like in your party sort of thing. I guess I can see what you mean. Okay, I got you. I
Hmm.
got you.
And so Louis, yeah, he's causing problems, and he kidnaps three individuals, literally, and he does as he doesn't do it for any good reason. Actually,
Oh my
he
god!
literally just
When they
does
get
it.
back to their planet, they need to like execute him or something. Like you're causing too much
I'm always
trouble.
thinking, like I'm like y'all should just not have him around. Like literally, that's what I mentioned at one point. I'm like y'all should just not have him around. At this point, like you guys should just leave him on the planet to die. Which
Jesus
honestly, even if
Christ.
they did, he's probably not going to be because he's probably going to eat every little thing he comes across. But hey, like I'd rather just leave him on the planet than like take him with me on.
Jeez, man. Oh my god.
Um, and then yeah, I beat his ass like twice now at a Dandori battle. It was actually kind of funny.
Nice.
The first time I lost, the first time, he told me to get off the planet and I got pissed and I beat his ass. And I was
Damn.
like, he got mad. He opened his eyes wide and he says, "It's time for you to leave." And I was like, "No, dude, it's time for your ass to leave."
Well, that's a pretty good motivation, I mean, to keep going.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Um, and so yeah, I beat him, and so he ran off like a bitch. And then
Oh my
and
god.
then I saved Moss because he kidnapped Moss in a sense. Like he kind of like convinced her to like team up with him.
Yeah.
And then what's cool is afterwards, basically, since you saved Olimar, Olimar explains how he like the shipwrecking and everything. So you get to play as Olimar and a little side story, and I did that as well. And oh my God, does Olimar's little side story, it's like the best, honestly. Like it's super short,
Hmm.
but it's like the best way to revisit all four of like the main story levels while adding like new music and then making the levels more small and stuff.
Oh, that's kind
So
of
it
cool.
focuses on the more important stuff basically of his story.
Nice. That's pretty cool. So I want to say there's games that do that where let's like revisit levels but with like new context or whatever.
Hmm.
Can't think off the top of my head of games that do that, but I know there's games that have like done that. So that's kind of cool. That's actually pretty fun. Nice.
And then because obviously you're playing with Olimar, and you could tell they're trying to go with that whole thing where, like I mentioned before, it seems like it was trying to retcon it, but you did some research and it doesn't seem like that's the implication either. You could tell it's more like they're just calling back to like Pikmin 1 and 2 on the other hand.
Hmm.
And so it's cool because when you visit all of the levels, each level's music is unique, where it's like the regular version, but it has like a more upbeat tone to it. And it has like the leitmotif from the first game, like each of the levels. And so it's cool because in the water level, it has like the leitmotif from like the water level from the first game. And then when you visit like the first major level as Olimar, it has like the leitmotif of like the Forest of Hope from the first game as well.
Oh, that's cool.
So
That's fun.
like it references like the first two games and stuff. It's cool.
Yeah, it's kind of
And
fun that it feels like a definite throwback where it even
mhm.
like has little like nods to like original stuff and stuff. That's pretty cool. That's fun. That's nice.
Yeah, and then it's cool because yeah, like basically the same thing is that this plot for Olimar's is that basically he crashes on the planet. For some reason in this version, because I guess they're just trying to get straight to the point, he already has red Pikmin. That's the first throw thing that you get. And that you have to collect 30 pieces within 15 days instead of 30.
Oh, so it's still a time.
And
It's a time thing like the original then.
because
Oh, that's
I think that's the
interesting.
point where they're trying to like retell the first game, but like in a new way. But like, they're just kind of reusing the yeah, they're just like reusing the idea, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And and then once you get all 30 pieces, Olimar, he sends out the SOS saying that like I hope that anyone comes to save me.
And then that
And then
leads
he
into like how the fourth game starts, basically, I'm guessing.
mhm. Yeah.
That's
And
cool.
it shows like a whole ending scene that explains like stuff that happens during the main story. And so that's where you're kind of like, oh, so that's why so and so thing happened. It's like, okay. And so yeah, it's cool how
That's a fun way
you
to
know, I
wrap
did.
everything up. You know, it kind of tells
Hmm.
you, it fills in the gaps while through doing a lot of like throwback stuff and nods and everything. And then it's kind of like, now I kind of, we're back to where we started. I kind of understand everything now. That's kind of cool.
Hmm. And it's cool because right after you beat his story, you unlock this little cave. It's called Trial of the Sage. And it's basically like this huge Dandori challenge that's like 10 floors. And I've been doing that, and oh my God, has it been like really difficult?
Oh, good. I can imagine. So it's kind of like what, like a boss rush or like a challenge mode or something at the end.
It's like a challenge mode where you have to collect things within a time limit. And if you mess up, like the sage dude, because it's like a little leafling dude, like a white leafling dude, because he looks like an old dude. He says he's like let's say you're doing really good, right? He'll tell you when you fail, he'll say, um, like he'll basically even insult you by saying like, "How dare you mess up? You were doing so good." And then like I
Okay.
think like the yeah, like he gets really pissed when you mess up. And then if you mess up like the third or second time, he'll even say he's like, "Oh, it's okay. Failures happen. You just have to learn from them." Blah blah blah. But like the first time he told me that he got mad, I was like, "Oh no! Like this is it's bad when even the game's like insulting you for like sucking, even though you were like doing great,
Yeah,
you know."
that's
Um,
funny.
and what's cool is that in these 10 floors, you actually get the purple Pikmin and white Pikmin onions. Like they're like post game content.
Nice. You get the Reggie
And
Pikmin.
the Reggie Pikmin, yes.
Oh my God, so
And
good.
yeah, like I'm not done with it, but definitely like it's been pretty fun, you know. And once I'm done with it, I feel like that's where I'm gonna talk about every little like thing, like the plot maybe at that point, like everything. And
At least a brief overview. I feel like at this point we kind of have an idea of it, but yeah, maybe just like a quick little summary of like I finished
what exactly
it.
happened.
For
Hmm.
anyone who doesn't, fill in the pieces. Here's what it is, and you know.
Hmm. And I don't know, man. I just love it. I like the game so far. I think it's so cool, all the stuff they packed into it. I love the fact that it is like Pikmin 2, I like its post game a lot. But I feel like this one definitely takes the cake for like a game, even like a game in general, honestly, that has a really good post game, honestly. Like a
Nice.
really, really good post game. So like, it keeps me going to be like, oh yeah, it's not even like, oh, you just continue doing whatever. It's like here it's literally just like, no, there's like definitely more to do, you know?
Hmm.
And yeah.
Nice. So yeah, it sounds like you're basically just wrapping stuff up. It sounds like you're almost done. You're just kind of, like almost like I guess you can say you're just trying to wrap things up to get like 100%. Make sure you kind of explore everything there is to explore of the game, sort of thing. But
Hmm.
it sounds like you're almost done with it. Basically, it sounds like you've done just about everything. You're just kind of like I said, just kind of wrapping up loose ends, sort of thing.
Yep.
Well, that's cool. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. So, that's good. Pikmin 4, that's definitely been like a journey you've been on. The Pikmin games, Pikmin 4, all that good stuff. Is there anything else that you want to talk about, or what's up?
Oh, dude. Something I liked that I wanted to see for a long time, like a long, long time, and I'm so happy I finally got to see it. Was I got to see the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, Mutant Mayhem. I got to finally
Oh,
see it.
nice, nice. That's cool. Okay, okay. Nice is
Oh my
nice.
God, I loved it. Like I know it's not gonna be like, oh my God, it's like 12 out of 10, stuff like that. But I would say that I definitely liked it. I definitely liked it. I like how, based off the trailer too, the fact that, the point is that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are supposed to be like teenagers, like the way they act too, it's more like they're like the way I would describe it is like they're more immature. That's how we would describe it, honestly.
Hmm.
Um, I honestly liked it like that. I thought it was pretty funny seeing their interactions, the way they interact with each other. Um, I thought it was cool seeing all the characters back. And I don't know, man. I just liked it a lot. And then I thought um, the villain, Superfly, I thought he was super cool too. Obviously, I'm not going to go into details, either with all that. But like I don't know, man. It was a really good like movie. I definitely recommend it a lot.
Nice,
And
nice.
Splinter was cool as always.
Cool.
Splinter.
Oh, okay. I thought you said Slither from him. I'm like Slither. Like, what the hell? I'm like, is there
And
like a
Slither's his
snake?
cousin.
Is there some
His
sort
snake
of
cousin.
is there yeah, I was gonna say is there some sort of snake? All
Yeah,
right, so it's
man.
funny that you bring up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem because I also
Hmm.
watched it. I actually watched two movies, but I'll start with that one actually. That's a good little like transition to my week. Oh wait, by the way, that was the end of your week, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect, cool. So game and movie, awesome. Yeah, so I actually watched a couple movies too. And like I said, it's a good transition because I also watched the new Ninja Turtles movie. And yeah, basically what you said, ever since the trailers came out, it looked really interesting. It's definitely copying, or not copying, but you can tell it's inspired by stuff like Puss in Boots or
Hmm.
what do you call it?
Into the Spider-Verse
Spider-Verse, stuff like that, where it's really using like a different type of animation where it looks like, I don't know, like a sketchbook or
or comic, yeah.
like a comic or something. Like it has a very interesting art style. And then the other thing that people noticed right away, when you're watching the trailer, is that yeah, they look and sound like young. Like usually we're
Hmm.
used to them being called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but they always seem like they're like young adults almost, right?
Hmm.
And here they're definitely like kids, which was just kind of cool. So it ended up feeling almost like a origin. Like this is like their
Hmm.
first big adventure. It's their first big battle. And definitely
Hmm.
upon watching it, that's what I thought was really cool. That just for anyone who kind of wants to like a little short synopsis without like really spoiling or anything, because I think you should watch it for
Hmm.
yourself. But yeah, basically that's what it is. That it's basically, that there's I guess I'm trying to think of what side to start on. Uh yeah, I'll just start. It's not really a spoiler. There's a scientist. Anyone who's familiar with the Ninja Turtles franchise, it's the character Baxter Stockman, who is a
Hmm.
scientist. And basically, he's working on created mutants. He's the one who created the ooze in this. And one of the things he creates is a fly that is a mutant. And basically, as he's creating all these mutants, stuff goes down. Ooze ends up down the drain into the sewers. And then that's how the Ninja Turtles come to be, as well as Splinter. And so it's basically they're almost like I said, origin story of like here's how Splinter found them and raised them and taught them to defend themselves. And you know, it's very much about them being very young and they haven't even been like in an actual fight or done any of like the Ninja Turtle stuff yet. It's like a Splinter who's very protective of them and doesn't really want them to go
Hmm.
to like above ground and interact with people. So they do get sent on errands, which that was a fun sequence when it opens. It's them like running errands and like stealing stuff because they don't really show that. Like all they really ever shows them in other stuff is like they have a lot of like tech and they eat pizza, stuff like that. But they kind of just have all that stuff, right? And so here it's kind of fun
Hmm.
that it shows and it implies that like everything they have, it's because yeah, they go above ground and they steal it
They
or
take it.
in one way or
Hmm.
another, yeah, and then they like repurpose it or whatever. So it was kind of fun when they showed that. And basically, as you would think, they meet April, and that's like their what gets them interested in the outside world and being heroes and whatnot. And then they get caught up in the whole thing that okay, that fly that escaped, that was Baxter Stockman's fly. That's the mutant mayhem part of the movie. That he's like basically like a crime boss. And so as the Ninja Turtles are doing their thing and trying to become heroes, they basically go head to head with this mutant squad or whatever you want to call them.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's pretty good. Like I said, it's like a cool origin story. I really like that. Yeah, it made them feel like actual teenagers. Like they feel like kids, which is really interesting. Like sometimes they could feel like a bit immature, which is kind of like, you kind of get
Yeah.
some people maybe like
Hmm.
rolling their eyes a little bit. But I get it, it's because they really want to bring in like a new audience. They really want to do something new of like here's like their first outing, I guess. You know what I mean? Because everything else, it always feels like they're already established. They already know who like Shredder is and the Foot Clan, etc. And here it's like no, it's like before all that, kind of.
Hmm.
So I thought the story was good. I thought the voice acting was pretty fun. Hearing them be kids was really cool. Seeing them act like kids was pretty fun. The art style was really interesting. There was some pretty cool fight sequences and like really cool like good direction, I guess you can say. Like there's a part I really like. It's not really even a spoiler, it's just like, oh, like I said, as they're beginning, they're like, crime fighting. There's just like this cool part where they go after like a bunch of like crime bosses, and
Oh, I
there's
know
like a
it's all, yeah.
sequence where it's all like a one shot, and it keeps switching between like the different turtles, fighting and stuff. That was like so badass. I
That
love that.
was super cool. I
It was
liked it,
super
yeah.
cool. I love that. That was so cool. And yeah, I just think it's really good, and I really hope that they continue with this like version of them, because it'd be really interesting to see like what happens next, especially because the way it ends is kind
Hmm.
of weird because it is something very different. It does a couple
Hmm.
of things very different from other versions. So it'd be really interesting to see like, okay, where does it go now? How's this going to work? For other adventures.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good too. I thought it was like a really fun, interesting, like unique look at them where like there's stuff that feels familiar, but there's stuff that feels, different and like unique that they hadn't really covered before. So I like it. I thought it was really cool. And yeah, Superfly, voiced by Ice Cube, he was like a really
I
fun.
loved it,
He was a
yeah.
really fun antagonist because it's always
Hmm.
Shredder, always Shredder, always Shredder, or King or other stuff like that. It was fun to see like, an
Hmm.
antagonist that was a bit different. So that was really fun.
Yeah, I thought it was super cool, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that was pretty cool. Then jumping to the other movie that I watched. This is a movie that as soon as I'd heard about it, I wanted to support it because I'm like, all right, interesting character. I've seen him in like some comics and like some animated stuff. I hope it does well, so I went to support it. And of course, I'm talking about the new Blue Beetle movie, which is part of, DC. And Blue Beetle's in a weird spot because we all know that the old DC extended universe thing is like basically dying.
Hmm.
And James Gunn is going to start like a new one, and they're not really sure what they're keeping and moving over. There's only like a few things. And basically, they had said that if Blue Beetle did good, they might integrate him into like the new universe. So that's part of why I want to support it. And all that aside, we'll have to see what happens, which I'll get to in a moment. But focus on the movie itself. I thought it was really fun. I really enjoyed it. A lot of people were like, "Oh, it looks kind of like dumb. It looks like it's just like kind of like an Iron Man ripoff." And like, no, if anything, it's more like a technological Venom,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
it's all about
I've heard, yeah.
anyone that knows about Blue Beetle. It's about this. I mean, there's different versions of him too. I feel like in DC, there's like a million versions of like every character, but this
Yeah,
one
there.
focuses on a character named Jaime Reyes. So he's a Hispanic, kid, and basically it's all about how he moves back to his hometown, and he finds out that this industry called Cord Industries is like destroying everything and tearing down like his old neighborhood and everything, blah blah blah. And he feels bad because his family's like in a bad financial situation, this and that. And basically he ends up getting involved with the Blue Beetle, which is this like alien artifact. That's what I'm saying. That kind of reminds me a bit of like Venom. It's like
Hmm.
this, alien artifact
Yeah.
that it basically merges with like a host, and it acts like in a symbiotic relationship. But here, instead of it being
Hmm.
like an alien entity, it's like a weird AI like tech thing. And so yeah, it merges with him and it gives him like a whole like suit or whatever and a bunch of weapons. And yeah, it's kind of like I said, more like a Venom thing than an Iron Man thing, because he has the AI talking to him the whole time. It's like a back and forth sort of thing. And it's like, oh, he can create all sorts of stuff using tech, like like lasers and these like tendril, things to like fight, and big old swords, and he can fly using like a jetpack, and he has big old like fists that he can make and all sorts of stuff, just all sorts of like cool tech. And I don't know, it feels almost like Power Rangers or like Common Rider, because he does all of this like really acrobatic like moves and stuff, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
story wise, I thought it was really cool. I thought it was really interesting, that he's like this down on his luck, graduate. He feels bad about his family situation. Family's a big part of it. Lost superheroes. The whole point is that like, oh, they're orphans, or their family doesn't know about their secret identity. I mean, doesn't know about them being a superhero. They got to create, save their identity or whatever. And here, no, like his family is part of everything, which I think is really interesting. That's like really fresh too. I've never really seen that. And so it's just like this really cool story about like this underdog and his family and how they're dealing with, him being a superhero and all this crap happening around them. And I don't know. I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it. It was really funny. Has a lot of, it's definitely for like a Hispanic audience, has a lot of like different like things that like speak to like, Mexican people and stuff, and stuff. Really fun. Like I said, I thought like the powers and stuff were really cool. I thought that it was a really cool scene that, like I said, it gives me like Kamen Rider or like Power Rangers vibes sometimes, but then sometimes, it kind of gives you like a bit of Iron Man vibes, and other times it kind of reminds you of some stuff having to do with like Venom, with the whole symbiotic relationship and all that. And I don't know, I just really had a lot of fun with the movie. It's one of those things where I really hope it does well. I had kind of heard that maybe even if it doesn't do well at this point, James Gunn likes the character enough that he might, integrate him into the new thing anyway. I'm not really sure. I've just kind of heard rumors here and there. I haven't really confirmed it, but I just hope that it does well. I hope more people go to watch it. I know like the first week it came out, it didn't do that great. I looked at some of the box office numbers and it like underperformed, but I hope that's one of those things that like word of mouth really contributes to more people watching it. And I really hope that they do more with this character, because where it ends off too, it seems like a really good beginning to see like, oh man, I want to know more about like this universe and how he, how he is like when he's like around other heroes and, that sort of thing. I think it would be really fun to see more of this character. So
nice.
So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I would say go watch it. I would say that if you're worried about it being like, kind of like boring or being like an Iron Man clone or something, it's not. It has like a lot of fun, like family stuff, and like I said, I don't know, it just has like a lot of good stuff from other things, like Kamen Rider, Power Rangers, Iron Man, the whole Venom thing, a lot of Hispanic humor and references and stuff, and like I don't know, it's a lot of fun. I would recommend it. Like I said, I don't know how the box office is doing for like the second week. I know the first week was weak, but I hope it gets more attention. And yeah, I hope that we see more of this, hero in the future, because I think he was really fun and I want to see more of Blue Beetle. So yeah.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. I would really say go watch it. It was really fun.
Nice.
Yeah, moving away from movies, I watched a couple of, I did a few anime-ish related manga things. So I'll talk about those. The first is that I started reading a new manga. Every so often I try to, pick up more manga, add them to my list, that sort of thing, especially because a lot of ones I've already read, I feel like I'm already caught up. And so it's like, I have to wait for like a new chapter, and it can be like a month sometimes, or like a few weeks. So like, what do I read in the meantime? You know what I mean? So I'm always trying to like add new things. And so I started reading a manga called, in Japanese, it's 𝐦𝐤𝐤 no Anjou-san. And in English,
Yamcha?
it doesn't, Yamcha, yes. In English, doesn't seem to have like an official translation, but I've seen it translated as naughty Gyaru Anjou-san. That's, because I guess that's like a direct translation, and yeah, basically, if anyone's ever, if anyone's familiar with stuff like, Zaki-chan wants to hang out, or don't tease me, whatever, Miss Nagatoro, or, any of that stuff, where it's always about kind of like, a chick, and she kind of, you can tell she kind of has a thing for like the pro tag. And so she's always kind of like messing with him, and it's all about like their relationship of like them, growing over time or whatever. It kind of fits to that genre. Like it's almost like a genre now, right? There's just so many of them. So it's kind of that genre. And yeah, if you read the little synopsis, it says, Seto is a completely ordinary and somewhat boring high school student, but for whatever reason, his delinquent classmate Anjou just won't leave him alone. The serious Seto and the energetic Anjou make an unexpected duo, but Anjou doesn't seem to mind the contrast, as she has too much fun bullying Seto. And yeah, basically it's about this kid. His name is Seto. and he's like the class president. He's always trying to study. He's like really nerdy, whatever. And he starts noticing that this Gyaru, which is it's like an archetype of it's like a character archetype, I guess, but it is based on like a real fashion thing in Japan. She's kind of like a delinquent, and she's basically starts kind of teasing him and flirting with him and like messing with him. And so it's kind of about how the relationship and how it develops, because it's like the contrast of like you have like the nerdy quiet dude and like the very energetic extroverted girl, and kind of like how they start hanging out together and how their bond grows and blah blah blah. What I will say I like about this one, it's a little bit different versus stuff like, let's say, like Nagatoro or the Uzaki-chan wants to hang out. I like that this one, it's not really a spoiler, honestly. If you read it, it's probably obvious. It's always, when something like this happens, it's always pretty obvious. Okay, it's probably just like a crush on him or something, right? And it's kind of like, okay, will they, won't they, right? What I like is that, and stuff, the other ones, it takes like a while for them to get together, if they even do. Sometimes it's like, oh, they get together and that's where it ends. Or like, oh, they get together and then, but it's like pretty far into it, I would say.
Yeah.
This one, it's pretty interesting because like they got together, at least, I'm not like super caught up. I think it's up to like chapter like 155, I think. And I've read up to like chapter 120. And they already got together a bit ago, a few chapters ago. And so now it's really just about like their relationship as like boyfriend and girlfriend now, which is, that's kind of cool, right? Like it's nowhere near ending, and it's already about them like dating. And then not only that, but if you look at something like, Naruto, it only really focuses on like the main, male MC and female MC, and that's kind of it. Here it's kind of fun because there's also some side characters, and it also shows kind of their will they, won't they, which is also really interesting. So it's almost like at this point there's like 3 couples or would-be couples, and it's all about how they're also very like there's some contrast, and it's also about like their relationships, which is really interesting. So like the main couple is the Gyaru and like the main guy that's really nerdy. Then we see like their friends or whatever, and we see how like they kind of what leads to them kind of will they, won't they. And it's like this girl, she's supposed to be like super serious, and everybody thinks she's like really stoic, but she has like a thing for like cute characters. She likes to like get them from little gotcha machines or whatever. And through that, she ends up like really getting into art. And it's all about how she wants to like become like an artist now. And she ends up the guy who like really like is supporting her is like a friend of the MC, but it's like this like kind of like creepy like otaku guy that likes to like draw. He's like really into like ecchi sort of stuff. But it's about how they kind of like, oh, will they, won't they? Because she's like really serious, and he's kind of like on the creepy side, but then they both kind of obviously come out of their shell around each other. You see there's more to them. And then there's another couple where it's like, oh, it's actually the younger brother of like the second girl, and there's like this friend of like the 2 girls, like 2 girls. It's their third friend that she's like this big eater despite being like really petite or whatever. And it's all about how like, oh, the brother of the second girl, he's always had like a crush on this girl ever since they were kids, but she only sees him as like a younger brother or something.
Damn.
And it's all about like the will they, won't they with them or whatever. And like, so it's really interesting. Like I like that not only do you have like the whole like main plot with like, the main 2 MCs, but there's also these like side characters that also have like their own things going on. And so like that's really fun, seeing like their own things and their own relationships and the will they, won't they and stuff. So it's really cool. Crazy. Yeah. It's really cool because you have like all these like characters. They have like 6 characters basically, and their will they, won't they with their like respective person. And like I said, then it's really fun because the whole thing where like Anjou and Seto, they get together, and then it's about, okay, what's like the relationship going forward and stuff. That's pretty fun. So I don't know. I've always had fun with these. I know it's kind of one of those, like I said, at this point it's almost a genre. And I know sometimes it kind of makes you roll your eyes, or it can be kind of like weird with the whole, oh, she's teasing him and he's all like, he doesn't like have a clue because he's all like oblivious or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then you'd think it would get kind of old because, I don't know, but I think that like if the writer's really good, I think they make it interesting. And this is one that I definitely recommend because I do think it's interesting enough that it feels different and the relationship feels, you're invested in enough and the other relationships are worth investing in and all this good stuff. Like I just think it's really well done where you think it would be like, okay, I've seen enough of this at this point. It's like, no, it's still original enough that I enjoy it and I've had fun with it. And I'm, like I said, currently reading it. I'm not caught up, but I'm close to it. And I don't know, it'd be fun if this ever gets adapted into an anime, which it might. A lot of stuff gets
Oh, it would,
adapted these
yeah.
days. It would be fun to see this adapted, and it would be fun to see more people watching stuff. So I'm having a lot of fun with it. I think it's really good. So once
It sounds
again,
pretty cool.
yeah, once again, it's called 𝐽 no Anjou-san. In English, I think, kind of translate to naughty Gyaru Anjou-san. And yeah, it's pretty fun. I recommend it. I think it's a fun read. I think it's really fun. So yeah.
Nice.
Then the other anime slash manga related thing that I engaged in is that first I think I added this to my like watch list a while ago when I heard it was going to come out, and it's this anime film called The Tunnel to Summer, The Exit to Goodbyes, which is a really weird title.
That is really
And
weird.
yeah, in Japanese, it's Natsu-e no Tunnel, Sayonara no Deguchi. And yeah, you can watch it on like Crunchyroll, Funimation. I think through Hulu if you have like Crunchyroll on there. It's a weird one. Basically, I would just say like try to watch on Crunchyroll. And yeah, basically it's this story that's like a romance slash supernatural, mystery sort of thing. And I guess I'll read like the little synopsis and I'll kind of go more into detail. So it says Karu Tono's family is falling apart. After the death of a sibling and his parents' divorce, he no longer feels any peace at home. Following a heated confrontation with his father, Karu runs out of his house and finds himself before a mysterious tunnel, which pulls him in. Bewildered by what he sees inside, he rushes to the exit, picking up a bird that looks identical to his deceased pet on his way out. Upon emerging outside, Karu realizes that despite him spending just a few minutes inside the tunnel, an entire week has passed. The
Yeah.
bizarre experience leads to him to remember the rumors of Orishima Tunnel, a passage that
Mhm.
grants wishes in exchange for one's lifespan. Given the resurrection of his pet bird, Karu cannot help but wonder if another visit can help fix his messed up life. However, when he returns to the entrance to the mysterious tunnel, Karu realizes that he has been followed by Anzu Hanashiro, a new transfer student in his class. She also knows about the rumors and asks him to help her with an experiment. It turns out that she too has a wish that only the tunnel can grant. So yeah, pretty basic premise where it's a guess. MC runs across this tunnel that you go in there, and basically as you're wandering through this like other world, it seems to return your wishes to you. Like it grants your wishes and it gives stuff to you, but in exchange, time passes like differently. So even though he was in there for like what seemed like a few minutes, a whole week passed outside. And so that's kind of what, obviously that's like the we call it, that's like the not threat, that would be the what do you say, the I don't know, trade-off. I can't think of the word
Issue.
right now.
Uh,
Huh?
I was gonna say issue, but no, it's more of like the con to trying to get your wishes, basically.
Yeah, it's like
Is
the
that you lose your
trade-off.
life.
Yeah, it's
Hmm.
like the trade-off. And so yeah, so it's a really interesting movie where it's all about these two characters. And at first, obviously, we introduce the character, we see his life, we see how it's really sad that he only lives with his father. His father's really abusive. Obviously, there's some trauma there because of his sister dying, whatever. And he just doesn't really enjoy his life. He's just sad. And then, after going in the tunnel and coming out or whatever, or maybe even happened before, I forgot the order, but he also meets this girl. She's a transfer student. And he does talk to her, before going in the tunnel. I want to say, I think it is before. And yeah, they talk about how, like, oh, she's kind of like in a situation like him where she doesn't really have a loving home. She's kind of on her own. And so they kind of bond over, the fact that they both have like, stuff they wish they could change about their lives. They're not really happy with where they're at, that sort of thing. And once he goes in the tunnel, comes out or whatever, he kind of tells her about it. Yeah, basically they kind of say, let's team up to like discover more about this tunnel and let's try to see if we can make like our wishes come true. And so it's basically about how they're, experimenting with the tunnel, trying to figure out like how it really works, how time passes, blah, blah, blah. Along the way, as you would imagine, they bond over like their shared experience about, not being happy with their life and like trauma with like their family or whatever. And yeah, they kind of start to like bond and like really like fall in love and stuff. And then I don't know without spoiling it though, stuff goes down obviously because the tunnel, it takes away some of your lifespan. Obviously, time passes in a really weird way. And so without spoiling it, some stuff goes down. And yeah, it's all about getting past that, I guess is the best way to explain it. It's kind of hard explaining without, explaining it. But yeah, luckily the one thing I will say, in case anyone's wondering, like, oh no, does it have like a bad ending? The best way to explain it is that it kind of has a mixed ending. It's happy in one sense, but it's kind of sad in another, because just keep in mind the whole thing about how it takes some of your time away. I'll just leave it at that. But overall, it is supposed to be like a happy ending now. All right. So,
Okay.
And yeah, it's kind of one of those things where I watched it. I enjoyed it enough, but I was left feeling kind of weird because like the ending is kind of mixed, as I said. And then I don't know, there's just some stuff that kind of made me go like, I don't know, some stuff kind of just like it's weird. I don't know how to explain it. You have to watch it. But the point is, I'm trying to get at is that I watched it. I thought it was all right. I went to go see opinions of what other people thought about it. And a lot of people were mentioning that they thought that the light novel that it's based on was better. And they were kind of explaining some things that, once you've watched it, you're kind of like, oh, so that's different and that's different, huh? And I don't really know where to go for light novels. That's one of the things I really need to track down a good site to like find translated light novels. But there's also a manga adaptation of it. So I went to go check that out. And oh my God, yeah, I can see what people are talking about. If the movie is like a 7 out of 10, the manga is like a 9 out of 10. It's like so much better because there's some stuff that they change in the movie for some reason that, yeah, I really wish they adapted it, because like there's some characters that they kind of like, really take away their roles. There's like even the way the tunnel works, they change. Like in the movie, it's almost like a weird cave, while in the manga and I guess light novel, it is like an actual tunnel. It feels like you're crossing through like an actual like brick tunnel and stuff. It's like very different. And then like the overall message and theme felt like it was way better done in like the manga, and I'm guessing light novel, I think they're supposed to be like pretty close together. Yeah, like it's like there's obviously like a theme or like a message, as you can imagine, because if it's all about them trying to go in there, but at the risk of losing some of their lifespan, losing some of their time, like they're wasting like valuable time in the real world to like go and try to retrieve or like make these wishes come true or whatever. There's obviously, there should be a message there, right, about like why maybe that's not a good idea, right? And in the manga / night novel, it's like so much better. Like when it gets to, like near the end, you're kind of like, oh damn, they just handle like the realization for like the characters way better. And like when they discover what it is like they really want, I guess you can say, it's done so much better. And then here it really just ends with like, like I said, it all leads up to like this big thing happening, and then it kind of resolves in kind of like a mixed way, and it just ends there. But in the manga / light novel, they almost add like a little epilogue. Like, that gives it some better closure. So it's kind of like one of those things where I'm like, I don't know, like it's so weird that like the movie was good, but there's definitely more they could have adapted. There's definitely some things that I wish they carried over, because like the manga just feels like a more complete story. It feels like a more fulfilling story.
Yeah, that is weird.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like I don't know if you ever watch it. Maybe we'll cover it as a topic of the week one of these days, so I can like kind of go more into detail about it and stuff. Because yeah, it's like so weird the differences, and like the manga and like light novel just feel more like fulfilling. It feels like more of a complete story. So like I don't know, it's really weird seeing that the movie just didn't adapt everything. It's like, huh? I wonder why they did that. It's really weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things where, to make a long story short, good premise, not the best execution in the movie, but I would still recommend it. I would still say check it out. However, I would say if you're going to check out the movie, make sure to also check out the at least a manga adaptation. That way you kind of get the full story, because I feel like you really do need both. Because I feel if you only watch the movie, you're really missing out. So I would say I do recommend the movie. I do think it's still worth watching, but make sure you also like get the full story. That's like my
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah,
But
that's what I do
yeah,
with most of the stuff. Yeah.
yeah. And for some, it feels like maybe it's not as important, but here it definitely feels like it's important. So I would say, yes, watch the movie. I do recommend it, but it's with the caveat that you also get the rest of the story. So kind
All
of a weird
right.
one, but I enjoyed it enough. I thought it was fun. I thought it was really touching and stuff, but yeah, get the full story.
Nice.
Yeah. And then finally, to round out my week, just a real quick one to throw out there. I know a few weeks ago I was talking about this whole thing with like a VR headset and how I was having trouble and it got lost and never arrived, blah blah blah. Long story short, the original headset I ordered never did arrive. It really just got lost in the mail, and they still don't know where the hell it is. So there's still like a little like
Weird.
case open about how they'll find it someday, I guess, and may get to me. I don't know when the hell's gonna happen with that. But I refunded it on, eBay. I got my money back, and I ended up ordering another one that someone on eBay was like, "Oh, I'm selling it for parts because it's not working because, I try to connect it to my computer and the software doesn't recognize it." And similar to the PS4 that I bought, that was, I ended up hacking or whatever, because I kind of, I ended up thinking, I wonder if it's just one of those things where someone maybe isn't that good with technology, but if you look into it, it might be worth like getting. So sure enough, I bought it. It only cost me $28. That's including shipping. And that's for the headset, the
Damn.
controllers, and the two sensors. It cost me like $30 for everything. And sure enough, all I had to do was just connect it to my computer and it works. So I think that person just had really bad luck, that I think their computer just didn't recognize it for some reason. Like, I don't know what issue they were having, but on my computer, it is 100% fine.
Damn.
So that was a win for me. And yeah, just gonna, to round up the end of my week, I was gonna say that, yeah, because I have this headset. It's the Oculus Rift, the like very first version of it, but still really good. I've been playing EmuVR, which we talked about in other episodes, and just other VR apps. And I've just been having fun with that. So I've been, playing some VR stuff here and there. And like I said, I've just been having a lot of fun because the headsets are really good. It works perfectly. And my computer's been, pretty good computer. It's been pretty good at running stuff. And so I've just been having fun with that and having no issues and just having a good time. So yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and like I said, I got super lucky. The first one got lost and I had to refund it. But the second one, got it for $30, dude, because the guy just said like, "Oh, it doesn't work. It doesn't work for me," and so he was just trying to get rid of it, I guess.
Damn, that is super cool.
Yeah, that was like a major win for me. And I'm saying something like that happened with like my PS4 also, where it's like, "Oh, like the disk drive doesn't work," or like, no, was it the disk drive? I don't remember if it was like the disk drive didn't work, or if it was like, no, I think the problem was like, oh, when I turn it on, it's like stuck on like a reboot or like some sort of screen. And I looked up that like the way to get out of that is just like put a certain piece of firmware on there and kind of just like, do your thing to like basically like reset it or whatever. And I did that and
Yeah.
it worked. And so that's how I got like my PS4 that I then hacked, and I got it the same thing for like, it was like under $100. It was like super cheap.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah. That's it for my week though. Looking at the time, oh my god, we spent a long time talking about our shit.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine
Especially
though.
Pikmin.
Yeah, that's fine though, because honestly, for the rest of the podcast, as you guys see, it's gonna be pretty short. But not short, but there's only like one thing to really talk about. So it's not like, oh my god, there's like a lot of news stories to cover or anything. You guys will see what I mean in a moment. But jumping over to the news, there might have been more news. Honestly, I was supposed to pay attention while I was out, but I did not. Regardless, there's one news story that I thought was really big, and that's the one I kind of wanted to focus on anyway. So apologies if there's like some sort of news you want to hear about that we didn't cover, but we just wanted to really talk about this one. But as the title of the article states, Mario voice actor Charles Martinet to step back from recording voices for Mario games. So that's the only news story we're going to cover, and we're going to talk about this, and kind of that's sort of lead into the topic of the week. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to just dedicate the other half of the podcast to this because it's just such a big news story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And reading through it, it's one of those things where if you read more about it, it says that he's still going to be involved with Mario. They're calling him a Mario ambassador, which I guess means that, I guess he'll still go to cons and he'll still be like involved in like marketing and stuff like that, is what I'm guessing, even though it doesn't really say. But unfortunately, yeah, he's just not going to do the voice anymore. And so that's really crazy because like, some people had kind of guessed because they noticed that in Mario Wonder and like I don't remember what other stuff, they thought the voices seemed kind of off.
Oh
and
yeah, I was definitely wonder, yeah.
Yeah, and then some people are like, no, probably just imagining it, or whatever.
Because
or like
of it
there's
being
not
new.
yeah, or there's not enough footage yet to really tell. Maybe it's not final or whatever, blah blah. But yeah, sure enough, apparently, yeah, the last thing that he worked on, if you look it up, is actually researched it to see like, oh, what was the last thing he recorded then? The last thing that he recorded for was Mario and Rabbids Spark of Hope. And then he stepped down and then he stepped down from the role. So that means that, yeah, anything else, like I think the new Wario game and like Mario Wonder and stuff like that, if it sounded kind of weird to people, it's because it's not him apparently. So wow, we don't know who's gonna replace him yet. They haven't really said, but it's just one of those things where it's like, damn, it kind of sucks that he's stepping down. Like we all knew it had to happen eventually, that he was gonna retire, or if he died, obviously they have to recast him. But still, like, oh, we're there. That's so weird. You know what I mean? So yeah, I was gonna say that's like the news story for this week, is I just think it's a really, really big one. And that leads us into like our topic of the week. We just want to spend the last, bit of the podcast just kind of reflecting on that. What are our, some Mario memories and the career of Charles Martinet. I kind of just want to leave it kind of free flow and just say, kind of just diving in. I don't know. I don't know. Like, I guess, well, first starting with his career, I guess. Yeah, it's really crazy because he's done not just Mario, even though Mario is obviously the thing he's known for, but it's pretty crazy that, he's done other roles. And I guess I was going to kind of start with there. Paying, tribute to him where he's not doing like voice acting for Mario anymore. But what's other stuff that you know him from that you enjoy his voice work from? Because he's voiced other stuff, so I was going to start there.
I know that he's because I saw a whole thing a few years ago when he talked, like he did an interview. Well, it's not even an interview, it's just like a little like, hey, it's me, I'm famous for this. That he mentioned obviously that he's famous for doing really old commercials from like the 80s and 70s. I've seen those. He used to be in TV shows before. Again, commercials. He's obviously famous for Mario. And something I know him for is that he did the voice of Magenta and Dragon Ball Superhero.
Oh yeah, that was fun. That was a fun role. That was so cool.
He did a guy. I think this was what's his name? What's the name of the dude from the second season of JoJo? The dude's dad, the blonde dude's dad, I mean.
The second season of JoJo? The second season of JoJo focuses on Joseph, yeah.
But like the blonde dude that he trains with, that he doesn't like him at the beginning and then he gets used to him at the end.
Oh, Caesar?
Caesar, his dad, I think in the old 80s one, remember when they would dub the stuff during the 2000s and they would just release them as like OVAs or like VHS movies? I think he voiced Caesar's dad. I'm not sure. I think he voiced him.
Yeah, I was gonna say, speaking of JoJo, one of the things I know him from is that he, also OVA, he voiced like a senator or some sort of politician that basically he's getting harassed by Dio and like, Stardust Crusaders, like that
Oh,
arc.
that's cool.
That was pretty fun. He voiced that guy, which that was like, oh, that he did a really good job. It was so different. Yeah, let me check real quick. I have the thing in front of me real quick. Let's see. Who did he voice? You say you think it was? Let me scroll down. Uh no, it's the center I said, and
Okay, it's the center.
it was a pilot from the Speedwagon Foundation.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I think
Yeah,
one of
so
the dudes was blonde or something like that. That's why. I
yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah. It might have been the pilot then. I think.
Hmm.
Unless when you're talking about like an uncredited role or some weird thing, but I don't see it. But yeah, I was gonna say I know him from the yeah JoJo thing. People show clips of that. It was pretty fun. He's getting like freaking harassed by Dio, which is really fun. I was gonna say one of the things that I think he's really cool from, because he did a few games too.
Hmm.
One of my favorite things, I can't pronounce the name, I'm not even gonna try. But in Skyrim, he voices that dragon whose name starts with a
Oh,
P.
I've heard. Hmm.
And that was such a cool role because it was so different. Because usually you hear him as Mario, and it's like really high pitched, and it's very, I don't know. And here it's like a very low, like gravelly voice, and it's like this stoic dragon that it's such a good role, and it's such a fun, memorable role too. Because like, I don't know, it's so good. Like I can't even pronounce the damn dragons. I'm gonna try, but that was like a really good one that really stood out to me too. For me, what stands out to me is like his Mario work, the voice as the dragon, Magenta in Dragon Ball Superhero, and I always remember him that he did like that JoJo part. That's the stuff I always
Dude,
remember.
that's why I always remember the JoJo thing as well.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, even though he's like known mostly for Mario, he's done other stuff, and his other stuff is like pretty interesting too.
Hmm.
So that's really fun. It's he has like a career where like 90% of it's Mario, but he has other really good stuff, which I was gonna say like that's really cool. And even though he's stepping out as Mario, I mean that doesn't mean he might not do other stuff still. So that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And then going off of that, I guess I was just kind of trying to like hit little certain points. So like the career of Charles Martinet, other stuff you know him from. I was gonna say, have you ever met him?
No, unfortunately, no.
Yeah, I was gonna say same for me. I've never met him. I know some people have actually met him at cons and stuff. I will say though, I did have the pleasure to attend a con where he had a panel, and I went to his panel, which was really fun.
No, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. It was basically, he was at a panel. He was talking about his career. He was talking about Mario. He wasn't really talking about his other roles because he was there, mostly talking about like Mario. But he
Hmm.
still kind of, he name dropped some other stuff that he said about commercials and other roles, and he said that he's enjoyed all of them, for stuff like that. And it's always fun hearing him talk about how he got the job. I'm not going to dwell too much on it because it's out there. You can like
Oh,
see the
I know about.
interview. But yeah, it's just about how he got called in, and he's like, well, if it's like a character that kids are going to be like spending hours with or whatever, it should be like a really friendly voice or whatever. So instead of he made like a really like oh Mario voice that we all recognize, know and love, really goofy and stuff, and they didn't tell him to stop, so he just kept talking and talking and talking and just like
Hmm.
being silly or whatever. And then how basically the guy's like, okay, you can stop now. You ran all the tape out or whatever. You were only supposed to talk for like a minute, I guess, or whatever, but he didn't know. And then he ended up getting called back because they really liked his energy and stuff. So like that's really fun.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. I was like, oh, that's super cool, dude.
Yeah, and then it's so cool that he didn't just do Mario, but he did Mario, Luigi, Wario, Waluigi,
Waluigi.
the
Hmm.
different babies. He did Donkey Kong here and there, I think, stuff like that. So like that's really fun. And yeah, like he was talking about all of that stuff, in the panel. So it's one of those things where yeah, I didn't meet him, but at least I got to see a panel where he was talking. That was really fun. And he's just such like a nice guy. The way he talks and stuff, he's like so warm and like I don't know, he's like just so nice, you know what I mean? And I guess if he's not retiring from like the marketing, if maybe he's still going to cons and stuff, it's still one of those things where like I hope I can still maybe meet him at one,
I
maybe
would
like
hope to meet him too, bro.
yeah, because it
Like,
sounds like he's not like, it sounds like he's still gonna be involved with like the Mario character. So, hopefully he still goes to cons and stuff, if that's what we're thinking. Like that would be fun.
hmm.
From there I was gonna say, what are some of your favorite like Mario memories. Like I guess the better way to phrase it is like what got you like into Mario? Like what are your earliest like memories of like Mario? And then
Oh
from there,
well,
like what are your like favorite Mario memories, I guess.
my whole childhood and even now has just been Mario. Like
Yeah,
from like
yeah,
the moment I can even remember anything. Um, I think the first Mario game I ever played actually that wasn't like a main one. I think it was Mario Kart Wii because that was like the newest one at the time.
yeah.
And that was like back when I think I can barely even grab things with my hands. And I didn't know how to play Mario Kart, so I'd be like driving like all these different directions, be told like, "Hey, go in this direction." I didn't even know what was happening, and I'd crash. Um,
Nice.
and I fell in love with the series immediately from like the little bright colors on the screen. And then after that, I got to play Mario Galaxy,
Oh,
and
nice.
that's where I fell in love with the series the most. Um, Obviously, I also grew up with the cartoons, which those don't have Charles Martinet, but that's another thing that kind of contributed to it that I grew up with the games. I was playing all these spin-offs, like the ones on the DS. Um, I was already familiar with the first Mario game because that's like easy to find anywhere, honestly. And so I would play the original sometimes, or I would play like the Flash games, or and all this stuff was fun. And then another thing I also remember my earliest game playing was not only Galaxy, but also, damn, I think it was either 64 or Sunshine, I
Hmm.
think. It
You
was
don't
one
know.
of those
It's kind of
two.
funny not remembering which one because they're so different.
Yeah, I think it was 64. I think it was Galaxy and 64. Those were like the first two I had played, like the 3D ones.
Yeah.
And like most of the games I had been playing were either 2D games or it was Super Paper Mario, which that's a dark game. But I was like 6 or 7 when I played that. So like,
That's funny.
uh so and it was cool because, like Mario's honestly like the first thing that I was majorly into. And then I feel like Mario's kind of where like it was like the stepping stone for like me to get into video games in general. And so like sometimes like I like a lot of different things, but like when I try to compare something, I always find something that I can compare to Mario. Like every single time, I'll always almost find something in a video game I can compare to Mario. Like I just said it myself with Mario and Luigi, Olimar and Louie are like the complete opposite of Mario and Luigi.
Oh, I got
And
you. That's
Zelda,
funny. Yeah,
and
that's funny.
Zelda, Link is like the Mario where he's always saving the princess. Ganon is literally the Bowser. Zelda's literally the Princess Peach, and then Link, Luigi would be like Navi, or he would be like, well, I wouldn't even say Minna because Minna's like more kind of like a weird love interest by the end, but like that, or like it's like the sidekick, And then
Huh.
sometimes I can
Yeah.
even compare like that to like comic book characters, and it's always stuff like that where I always find something to compare it to Mario because Mario's the thing that I grew up with first.
Yeah, yeah, I got you.
And then
Yeah.
obviously after Mario, I ended up liking Sonic. And so I always just found like the comparisons between those two. And man, like that's the thing. I don't know, man. Oh, and then my earliest thing was Luigi's Mansion as well. The first Luigi's Mansion is also the earliest Mario memory I've had other than those four games. I mean those other three games.
Nice, nice.
Hmm.
Jumping to me, I guess. For me, like my earliest Mario memories is that I have an uncle that when we would go to visit my grandma, he still he wasn't like always living there, if I remember. It's like before he because he already had like at the times like around the time I'm talking about, he already had a son with his like I guess he at the moment at the time I don't know I guess you can say I don't think they were like really married, so let's just like call it like
His
his
girlfriend.
baby his girlfriend, his baby mama, right? Because they had their kid
Huh.
like right out of high school, so he already had a son,
Hmm.
and it's like he wasn't quite living with her yet, but he wasn't quite living with my grandma. He would kind of go back and forth, right? And so he had a
Yeah.
lot of his old systems there at my grandma's house. And he didn't mind if I played them. And so my earliest memory of Mario is that, yeah, he had a N64 there. And so I played a lot of Super Mario World. That was probably the first
Yeah.
Mario game I played, Super Mario World, and that was my exposure to Mario. And I remember he also had Mario RPG, Legend of the Seven Stars. But back then, oh man,
That's cool.
I didn't know how the hell to play that game at all, and it was like way too different from like Mario World for me. So like I remember like I never got far in that, even though I would like to like turn it on, and I really liked like the intro and
Oh, the
all that
intro's
stuff.
legendary, dude.
Yeah, the intro's like
Literally.
really fun, and I would try my best, but I could not understand how to play the game. So like I never got really far. But at least the Mario World, at least I kind of that's where I started, and I got into like gaming because of that, and that's what later led to me like the first because I had some handhelds if I remember like a Game Boy Advance and like a original Game Boy, stuff like that. But like the first system I got for myself was a GameCube, and so the first Mario game that I like personally owned was Super Mario Sunshine. And so yeah, it's one of those
Yeah.
things where like, it started with like the SNES, started with, Mario World and being exposed to, Mario World and some of like the little from there, like I said, Mario RPG, but not being able to really understand it or get, anywhere because I was really young. And then I played a little bit of like the different games in Mario All Stars, but those were a little bit older, so they were a little bit harder for me. But that's where I, kind of went from there. Then my first system, like I said, was the GameCube, so I played, Mario Sunshine. That was the first game of Mario I owned, and then like Luigi's Mansion, Super Smash Brothers Melee, the Mario parties. It just went from there, obviously, as you can tell.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's just so funny that it all started with, playing Mario World on the SNES. And that's why I have like a really soft spot for, Mario World. Like for a lot of people, like their go-to is like, Mario 64, right? And for me, no, I actually
Hmm.
prefer Mario World, honestly.
I
I,
honestly prefer World too. I
yeah,
honestly prefer
I
World, dude.
prefer the 2D versus the 3D. And I just like can't get over like the art. And I love, like all like the secrets and like the secret world and using Yoshi. Like, I don't know. I just love Mario World, right? That's where it started.
Hmm.
And then from there, obviously, yeah, I've just been like a Nintendo fan all my life, and I've played a bunch of his games, all the Mario parties and Mario Worlds and the RPG titles and the Luigi's Mansions and all that stuff. When it comes to some of my favorite memories, I guess I really love thinking of Mario Galaxy because Mario Galaxy,
Hmm.
it's just like a really special game where it was just
It
very
is, yeah.
cool. Like just the whole concept of it was cool. The way they integrated Rosalina into everything was really cool, which is funny because that has nothing to do with Mario. But
Hmm.
Rosalina was really cool. And I don't know, just like the way he saves Peach in this one just seems a little more special. It feels like the
Hmm. It
stakes are
really is, yeah.
higher. And then like the way that, even Rosalina always says like, oh, you need to save your special one or whatever. It just feels like more deep. I don't know.
Hmm.
And then another like really good Mario memory for me, and it's like really recent too, but I am still blown away by Mario Odyssey.
Oh,
And
yeah.
especially that level where like Pauline does the whole little festival for Mario. Like that
Hmm.
is just like the perfect love letter to like the whole game feels like a love letter to like Mario and like his
It
history
really
and
is,
everything.
yeah.
But that level is like magical. Like the song and just like it just feels like damn, it just like makes you really like it's incredible. It's just like it's a perfect way to encapsulate like Mario and just like puts a big smile on your face. So I feel like it's impossible to play that level and be like sad or whatever. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And yeah, and then I love like we talked about it when we recorded Luigi's Mansion. I love the original Luigi's Mansion. I just think it's so cool that it's like a really good like scary game while still being like a kid's game. It's just like really well done.
Hmm.
And then of course another like favorite Mario memory is the movie. Just hearing there was going to be a movie and
Oh,
seeing
yeah.
Mario on the big screen. And even though Charles Martinet didn't voice Mario, I just thought that the way he played Giuseppe, which is a throwback to, Jumpman, and the fact that he plays Mario and Luigi's dad,
That's all I was gonna say.
that just felt like such a nice like nod to like his career and almost like a passing of the torch that he was the father of Mario and Luigi. Like that just felt
Yeah,
really like that, like that just gives me like a really nice feeling too. So
yeah,
I don't know. There's just so much good memories with Mario, and
yeah,
a lot of it, like the movie, Charles Martinet was the main guy, but just knowing that he's tied to a lot of those memories is just really cool. You
yeah.
know,
Especially because it's sad too how in the movie at the end as the dad he's like, these are my boys." A lot of people like that line hits hard when you know like this is like probably one of his last roles like as a voice actor for like Mario basically to feel like
yeah,
damn like these are literally your boys dude like
yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. It's just like, oh man, it really gets to you. You know what I mean?
hmm
Uh, so yeah, I have a lot of good Mario memories, and like every time a new game comes out, I'm usually pretty excited. Like I said, Wonder, we talked about it when it got announced. I'm excited for it. It sucks that Charles Martinet isn't
hmm
going to be a part of it, but I don't know. It's just thanks to him because he's been the voice of the character for so long. He helped really establish that character and that series. And like I said, just I have so many good memories of it. And it's one of those things where it sucks he's not going to be a part of it, as a voice actor going forward. And that's what kind of, kind of gets to me that he's not dead. He's still
hmm
around, but it's still one of those things where it's like the end of like an era. It's like
It is, yeah.
it sucks that as we like get older, as time passes, so much stuff like it's the end of this, it's the end of that, and there's stuff that we feel like we're not really going to get back, and this is one of them, which really sucks. That
Yeah.
it's the end of the original Mario voice actor. He's stepping down, and he's getting older, so we're probably going to lose him at some point too. So I don't know. It's
hmm
just one of those things that sucks to like really dwell on it. That's why it's best not to dwell on it. It's best to dwell on like the positives, like the good memories, and at least he's still around. And like I said, hopefully he goes to like cons, and I would really like to still meet him and get his like autograph and stuff. But
I would love to do that,
yeah, but still one of those things that you can't help but like think about it a bit. And it kind of just sucks that like it's the end of something really special and something really great. You know what I mean? So like that sucks.
yeah.
But yeah, like I said, at least it's one of those things where like, try not to dwell on that stuff too much. Try to stay on the positive. And yeah, I mean, there's still going to be Mario games, even though they're not going to have him in it. He's helped really establish the character and what he should be. So hopefully the games will continue to be fun. And he's still going to be around. So we'll see how he's involved, with Mario and stuff going forward. And I don't know. I mean, there's going to be a whole other voice actor. Hopefully, the new voice actor does a good job. Hopefully, that's somebody else to really, you can almost say like fall in love with and, appreciate and stuff. So, we'll see how it goes, I guess. But for now, it's just one of those things where it's like, like thanks for everything. Charles Martinet, you really touched a lot of people and you really established like their childhood and stuff. So, you
Oh, he
know,
definitely established mine. He's like the it's like someone else said, and I feel like it's the same thing for me, even though I grew up with that character too. He's like the Mel Blanc of like video games, basically. That's how it feels
yeah,
like
yeah,
because of
kind
how
of,
many
right?
roles
He's
he
just
does.
Yeah, it's
And
funny because
then
for him, it's not even that he did so many voices. If you think about how many people he voices, but it's just if
mhm,
you think about how many titles and things he's been
and
in.
how iconic the character is. That's the thing too.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny because it's not like Mel Blanc where it's like, oh my god, he voiced like a
Like
thousand
the
voice.
entirety.
Yeah, but it's like you know, uh, not to say that Mel Blanc didn't have the quality, but it's almost like a quality over quantity thing. Where while Mel Blanc was in more things, I mean, well, yeah, well, Mel Blanc did more voices,
hmm
Charles Martinet has done like the same characters, but in much more things, which is like really crazy.
hmm
So
That's
yeah,
the thing. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. I think that's a good place to, kind of, cut it for now. But yeah, I was gonna say that, it's really sad news. But like I said, I think it's nice to focus on the positive and to just kind of say, thanks for all the memories and thanks for all the work, Charles Martinet. And, it's just we'll have to see what the future holds. Let's just try to be positive and, that sort of thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys, that is it for this podcast. I just kind of want to cut it there because if not, I feel like we could just talk about this forever and ever and ever. You know what I mean? And we're already running long. But yeah, it's just, there you go. A lot of stuff that we watched or read or whatever that we encourage you guys to check out. We recommend. Then the Charles Martinet thing is a big story. We only focused on one. So, but we thought we'd just kind of pay tribute to him. With that being said, we will try to be back next week. Hopefully this time we'll be back with like more news stories, hopefully more things to talk about, to recommend, that sort of thing. But for now, even though it was kind of, a bit different, the structure, once again, hopefully you guys enjoyed the podcast. Hopefully you guys had a good time listening to it. Let us know what you think about, Charles Martinet and him stepping down, all that good stuff. And yeah, this has been, Weeb Rabbit and Legend of Jonathan. Hopefully you guys have a good one. And we are out. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.